Hello everyone. Today we are going to create this beautiful website using Next.js. Now what you're gonna have inside this website is an investment website. As you see, we are having one header. Inside the header we have our logo. Then we have a different navlings tab, which is the home, features, account and reviews, to toggle through particular section with that. Then we have that two button which also can be useful to just redirect user for getting advice and hire me to just focus on your resume and other things. Then as you just scroll through little bit after below 50 pixel, as you see our header getting one shadow effect. Then we have the hero section. Inside that hero section we have the left part and the right part. In the left part we have that company details and other particular descriptions about that. Then in the right side we are having one simulator where we are showing a chart, a real-time chart, which actually you can, as you see, you can toggle through, and the amount and the variation is changing by default. And then we have this feature section. In the feature section you can see we have three different button. Once we click any of that, is getting selected and the pattern also changing inside our simulator. So this is working pretty much fine. And then we are having that open account section. Once you hover, there is an effect. You can showcase a very different particular text on that portion. Then we have the like, it's kind of adverse situation, get your first tips today. You can like highlight this portion. Then we have that our review portion. Now as you see, we're gonna create this beautiful motion design using that observer. You're gonna learn everything from this scratch on it. And then we have our footer. Once you click in the home tab, it will take us to the home. If you click in feature account, so particularly it will work for in every particular view, and it's highly responsive. If you just go below over here, as you see, this motion things we're gonna create with that framer motion. So this everything, it will be very cool. As you see, if you go down now in that feature section, because we are using the animate presence, as you see, we are now giving it as a carousel. So now all other particular things is working just fine. So let's drag it. You see, it's working pretty much fine, and we're gonna create that from this scratch using the Next.js, all the latest one, we using app browser and other things. And also for that styling we will use that tailwind CSS, and also we're gonna use that framer motion to creating a very beautiful motion and other things. Then we are going to use that headless UI to create is a pixel perfect designing. Like the people who are really are onto about how the design pattern is work and how you can make some cool design, please just be on that video from the beginning till end, because at the end of the video you're gonna have this entire website in your portfolio. Trust me, because after creating all of this we're gonna deploy it in the Vercel. So no further ado, so let's begin to create this. First of all, just take any of the folder. So I have this folder here. So now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna open that folder in my terminal. Now here we need to go to Next.js. Feel free to read the documentation how you can start with Next.js. So I will just go through that installation. I will copy that because we need to run that command in the terminal. So let's paste it over here. Now I'm gonna give a name for it, which will be Investor YT. Now feel free to go through all the documentation because it will give you a much more better understanding about Next.js, how it work. So I'm not gonna explain much more those things because then video will be very long. So if you just follow through me, it will be work for you. So now for this video I'm not gonna using the TypeScript because it's mostly the designing pattern, so we can go along without the TypeScript. I want slint, yes, tailwind CSS, and source. You can use either source directory or the normal thing, but I will use the source directory, is good. And now also the app router and other things not required. So now it will install all the dependencies such as React, React DOM, Next, tailwind CSS, post CSS, auto prefixer, slint and slint config next. So this will be responsible to create a like a dummy application from the beginning. Then we're gonna create our own thing above on that. Now everything is installed, so let's go inside that application. I'll put ls so I can see whichever application is available. The cd investor yt, you can also go through that particular folder and then open that one. So I will open that inside my code editor to code dot. So now it will open everything inside my editor. So this is the dummy application, like the default application whenever you're using that Next.js, this one, that npx create next app latest. So it will create you this one. So now here we have that our node modules, we have the public, we have the source folder, and all other things is available. First of all, let's go and run that application to see what we have right now from the beginning. So to run that one, what I'm gonna do, npm run dev. So it will run our application inside our localhost 3000. So as you see, it's showing that it's started spinning there. So let's open that. Okay. So whatever available over on that file, it should be coming from that f folder, because this f folder is really like inside the source folder. So we have one favicon icon, we have that global css configuration from the Tailwind CSS, we have that layout which is giving our layout portion, then we have our page.js. That's the file is responsible to showing all other things here. So first of all, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna clean up that project. So I will delete everything inside the main. I will take another new main. It will be main. I will take a p tag. It will be a p tag, and I'm gonna put some lorem text just to see is it working or not. Lorem 10. My auto is not working. Okay, this is our application. So after saving, it will be available to see in here. As you see, this is our application. Instead of js, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna use as jsx. So you can use the js also, it will work. So I'll just rename the file name with that. Okay, so now there is some color combination is there in the background. That color is coming from that globals.css. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna remove that, and we are getting a clean slate of application. So now inside the source folder, because as you see in our this over here, we have our header. First we will create the header, all the things from that beginning we're gonna create. As you see, the responsiveness and other things we're gonna create. So to create that, inside the source folder, I'm gonna create a folder named components, and after the components, again in the source folder, I'm gonna create that constants folder, constants, and then also I'm gonna create another folder which will be the images. So first of all, what I'm gonna do, inside that images, I'm gonna drag all the images which I used previously, and I'm gonna drop it here. So that's the images I'm gonna use for the logos and other things. Don't worry, all the images, it will be available in the description, so you can go there and just download and do whatever you want to take that images in your application. So now inside the components, I'll create first file which will be our header.jsx and rafce. So it's gonna create our React functional snippet. To run that rafce, if it's not working inside your machine, then you need to install that one, that ES7 plus React Redux React Native snippets. To create that, it will work for rafce or rfce, that other things. And also to go through with the Tailwind CSS, feel free to install that one, the Tailwind CSS IntelliSense and other PTR for the customization of that beautification of the lining. Once I hit the save, it will just give like a formatter. And then also the night owl theme which I'm using, feel free, if you want to use you can, otherwise you can go with the one you are choosing for yourself. So now as we are creating that header, so okay, let me close those things. So what I'm gonna do, because the header, it will be available in all header and the footer, so we are going to pass that one over here in that layout portion. So after the body, I'm gonna import that header over here. So now that header will be available in every single pages if we create. And also let's go back to header. What I'm gonna do, take a p tag lorem 20, so just to see. Now if we just check, we inspect the font family. So let's just see, because we are going to change the font styling. So this the lorem we have, so that's the p tag. And if we see the font family is coming that enter from that Next.js, if we go to the layout, it's coming from here. So we will not use that one because we're gonna use that font family from that Tailwind CSS. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna remove that from here. And after removing, you see font is changed, is UI sans serif. So what I'm gonna do, let's go to inside that tailwind.config.js. So over here in the top label, what I'm gonna define that cons default theme, and that default theme will require from that Tailwind CSS, and that will be the default theme. So we are having the default theme. Now that background is not required for us, and now I'm gonna declare the font family, and that font family as a default it will be, I'm gonna give a name of sans, and the font name it will be enter, and enter font we're gonna use, and that font it will be from that default theme, and then also the font family sans. And after hitting that, as you're gonna see, is changing the font family is enter, and also if I see the font details is coming as enter. So now our font is working fine, is changed. So let's head back to header, because now we are going to create the other parts of things. Okay, so in the header, according to that design, we have three parts. In the left we have the logo, in the middle we have that navbar layout, and then in the right section we have the button. So first of all, instead of taking the div, I'm gonna take the header, which is gonna helpful for SEO, and I will use that nav. So now inside that nav, what we need to create, first of all we will create a container, because then we can declare all other things inside that container, because all the height, weight we're gonna pass through that container, so we can call it in every single component. So it will be container.jsx rafce. So now this container will be responsible to create some other parts. So first of all, I need one package which is called that clsx, and that package we're gonna use that to create that function to declare the class name. And that package is very renownable. You see it's more than 11 million downloads every week. So we're gonna copy that, and over here we are going to install that. And now this one, by default it will take as a props, which will be the class name, and any props we are going to pass it over here, it will take also. And now to define the class name, what I'm gonna do, instead of taking two div, I'm gonna take a self-closing div, and that div I'm gonna pass that class name, and that class name we're gonna pass it with clsx. And don't forget to import in the top, for that React is not required. So now inside that clsx we're gonna pass our class name. So I'm gonna pass it as a max width of screen axle, and also it will be mx auto to keep it in the middle, and the padding x-axis it will be 4, and whenever it will hit in the smaller screen it will be padding x-axis 6, because that 4 will be responsible for the extra small. As you see, the Tailwind CSS is the mobile first utility design pattern, so it will be working for the extra small, and whenever it will hit in LG devices it will be the padding x-axis, it will be 8. And now what we can do, after taking all of that things, that parameter, oops, we need to be inside over here, and also whatever the class name we're gonna pass to that component, it will take it by default. And then also if we are passing any props, it will take that props as a parameter. So this is our container. So inside the header, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna pass that container, and now inside that container we're gonna create our application. So now this is our application is coming, header is nothing is there, so it's showing nothing. So first of all, let's see what we're gonna create. First we're gonna create our logo, and then we're gonna create our nav links, and after that we're gonna create that buttons, and below that button also we need to create that, oops, it will be mobile nav links we're gonna create. So this is the 4 things we are going to create. Okay, so first thing first, let's create the logo, and everything we will keep inside a div. So to create the logo, I'm gonna create a component which will be name of that logo.jsx. You can create it, you can pass it any images if you want, but I'm just going through to pass with the text to not to create everything from the scratch. And to do that, let's give that logo a name. So instead of that div, I'm gonna pass an h2 tag. Oops, it will be, need to remove first. Okay, h2 tag, and let's pass that investor. That will be our logo name, and that logo, it will be wrapped through inside a link. Okay, and that link we need to import from that next link. Oops, I think we might made something wrong. Yeah, we need to keep that bracket over here which we removed. So in the header we will import that logo from logo. Okay, okay, because inside the link also we need to put that href, because otherwise it will give that error. Href, it will pass, it will just redirect us to the home page whenever we click in that logo. So now there is the logo, and to give some more class name with that, let's put some class name. And that class name, actually what we're gonna do, we're gonna do the similar before which we have been created. We're gonna pass a parameter of class name and also the parameter of the props. So with that way, whenever we use that logo, we can modify it in the way we want. So that one also, it will be using that clx, and now we're gonna pass that class name. And the default one, it will be text3xl font, it will be a bold, and the text gray 600. And whenever we're gonna hover, it will be text gray 900, and also the duration, it will be 300. So that will be our initial one. And also after declaring that portion, we're gonna declare the class name. So we're gonna pass that a predefined class name, and also we can pass any of the props. Like we want to change the logo name, we can do it using that. So as we hover, as you see, this thing is changing. Okay, so let's go back to header, and because we need to create some gapping position. So as you remember, we can pass any class name to our container, right? And to do that, we're gonna define that class name what you want. We'll keep that container as relative, and the z index, it will be a 50, and it will be flex, and also for that justify item, it will be between, and padding in y-axis, it will be 8. As we save, as you see, it's giving a padding and gapping everything. So now we are having that logo. Now also that logo, actually what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna pass some class name for it. I'm gonna make it as relative, and also z indexed of 10. Okay, z indexed of 10. And why I keep that, you're gonna know it later on. I'm gonna show you. So after that logo, we need to create another div, and inside that div we're gonna create the nav links. And to create the nav links, we will open a file which will be navlinks.jsx rafce. So this will be our nav link. I'm gonna make it much more bigger. So inside the header, we are going to import that nav links from nav links. So now you're gonna see that nav links. By default, I keep it justify between. That's why you can see is between. Otherwise, it will come in like that way. So I'm just giving that class name beforehand. And so many other parts, I'm gonna pass that class name beforehand. If you don't understand, toggle through with that, play a bit with that. But to make that application happening, just feel free to follow me, and it will work simply fine. Okay. And that nav link, what I'm gonna do, pass some class name for that. By default, it will be hidden. We don't want to show them. Whenever it will want to held in a larger devices, it will be a flex, and also larger devices, the gap, it will be 10, and item, it will be center. So in that way, like if we just make it in a smaller screen, you will not see that nav links. Once it just hit the larger, you're gonna see that nav link. So that's the simple things we created now. Now let's go to on that nav link portion, how we gonna make it to create the nav link. So first of all, let's go and like to get some things which it will be, we're gonna use that framer motion. So we're gonna install that one in our machine. So that's the framer motion. Let's install that. Okay, so inside that nav links, first of all, we need to pass some data, because this one we will take from somewhere in some places, so we no need to modify it in our actual nav link components. So that in that special way, in the constants over here, I'm gonna take a file. Oops, it will be inside that constants, and that it will be index.jsx. So now over here, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna pass that data which will be responsible for nav link. So it will be export const nav data, and now I'm gonna pass that data. It will be an array of data, and inside that data it will combining 4 objects. One, it will be for the home, title will be home, ID we are passing a default ID, and the href it will be home, because whenever we click at home it will take us back to the home, because we're gonna create everything inside the section. So that's the value we are passing to create that. So now let's go back to again inside the nav link. So what I'm gonna do inside here, I'm gonna take just an empty braces, and here I'm gonna just nav links. Okay, I believe it should be, it's a nav data, not nav links. It will be nav data. Let's import, and we're gonna map through it. And after mapping, we know what the things we're gonna take. It will be ID, title, and href. Now what we're gonna return, we're gonna return, first of all, we're gonna return a span tag which will be responsible to show us that our title. So first of all, we can see the title. As you see, this is title because if you come over here, we already provide the gap and everything, so that is taking the parameter in the way it's supposed to be. So now what we need to do, we need to create that hover effect, which we're gonna do it by using that animate presence from that framer motion. And to implement that, let's go inside that nav links. First of all, I'm gonna take one parameter. It should be hover index, and it will be set hover index. Use state, it will be null. So now once we are going to use that use state, as you see, you're gonna having an error, because by default that Next.js is working, everything is rendered through server, so that by default every single component pages is from the server side rendering by default in the Next.js, the app routing setup. So if we want to anything like the custom parameter like use effect hook or other things, and also if the third-party libraries we're gonna use, if it's not combined with Next.js, then we need to use that parameter, that particular components as use client to create that client-side rendering. And to do that, actually inside the header, this will be the client-side parameter. So I'm gonna put that in the top. It will be use client, so that it will not give us any error and it will be working just fine. Now let's go back to nav link again. And this one, that span tag, we're gonna pass it inside that link parameter, and that link need to be import from that next link. And also that link, it will take the key which will be ID, and also you'll pass the href which will be our own href. And now let's give some class name to that. It will be relative minus mx, it will be 3, minus my, it will be 2, rounded it will be lg, padding in y-axis gonna be 2, and the text it will be the base text, and text gray I'm gonna give as a 700, and transition it will be on the colors. and now it's nothing gonna change that much because we didn't create other things. So what we're gonna do after that, we're gonna declare one animate presence parameter. So it will be animate presence from that framer motion, and also after that animate presence, I'm gonna import that motion from there also, because we're gonna use both of it. Now inside that animate presence, actually before to do that, we need to create two things which will be on mouse enter. Like as you see, whenever the mouse is entering on the home, that effect is coming. Whenever it's exit, if effect is removed. We need to create that two effect when the mouse is enter and when the mouse is leave. So when the mouse is enter, we're gonna pass a parameter, and it will be set hover index. We're gonna set hover index as the ID we are passing, and on mouse leave, so whenever the mouse gonna like scroll back from it, then it will be the set hover index. We're gonna create that in initial index, so it will be null. So now inside that animate presence, what I'm gonna do, we're gonna pass the parameter. It will be the hover index. Is the hover index is equal to the ID we are passing through, and then we're gonna return something, and we're gonna return a motion span, and it will be self-closing span, and that we're gonna give some class name for that. It will be absolute, and in set it gonna be 0, and also rounded it will be LG, and BG gray 100. Okay, so that will be that. And now also we need to pass a layout ID, and the layout, it will be layout ID, and that layout ID it will be hover background. And after passing that, we need to define now the actual things, the animation setup. In the animation there is three setup. One is for the initial value, one is the animate value, one is the exit value. So the initial value is the value, the first the time when the people is coming in the website, what they gonna see at the beginning. So initial value it gonna be opacity 0. We don't want to show the animation to them, right, when it's initial. But when the animate things is gonna start, like when anyone entering the mouse on that particular text, we're gonna give that opacity as 1. And also I'm gonna put that transition, and that transition it will be transition, the duration, we're gonna pass the duration as 0.15. And also we're gonna create another transition. It will be the exit transition. So when the mouse is hovering over, so the opacity it will be 0. And also we're gonna put that transition on it here, and that transition it will be duration, we're gonna give as 0.15. and we also declare a delay, delay, and that that delay it will be 0.2 seconds. Okay, I think everything is working fine. So let's go back here. As you see, once we hover, that thing's actually working, but we are not getting the actual result which we are looking for. And to get that result in the span tag, we need to work a bit, and that one we will put a class name. We will make it as relative, and z it will be 10. In that way, now you can see it's actually can viewable, but as you see, that things is a break, so something we are missing actually. And what we are missing actually, I think we're gonna need to give a padding in x-axis 3. Now as you see, that looks fine. Okay, as you see, our animation also working and perfect. If we click, we are getting to the feature. If we click, we're getting to the home tab. So everything is working well. So now we need to create our two button. So our nav links part is done. Inside the header, we need to create that button. And to create that button, let's take another div, and in that div also gonna get some class name. What it will be like flex item center, and we're gonna give a gap up 6. We will not make it in a hidden and others because we're gonna create that mobile nav links over here. So the particularly we're gonna hide the button, and to create the button we will take a different comp file which the name we're gonna pass as button.jsx rafce. So now we will import that button from there. So it will be the button, the first button, which is that get advice. Now after doing that, as you see the button, it will not render because we need to do something to let it work. And what we're gonna do, we're gonna create that button is an actual button, like we're gonna render it anywhere, and we're gonna define all other things. And to create that button in that way, what we need to do, first of all, we need to pass that base styles so that we can require the base style how it will be. So we're gonna have two variant for that. One variant it will be a solid, and the other variant it will be outline. So now we need to pass actually the predefined class name, like how it will be once the variant is solid. That's the class name. If I write, it will take a bit of time. Feel free to write it. You just need to put that code, it will work just fine. And for the outline variant, the predefined class name, it will be that. So this the two class name, it will be responsible for two variation. And now after the base styles, we need to pass another things. It will be variant styles, and that variance styles also gonna take some of the parameter, which will be one for the solid button how it will be, and one for the outline button how it will be. And for the solid button, we're gonna make two different different parameter. One will be the blue button, one will be the gray button. And for the outline, it will be just one parameter we're gonna pass, which will be the gray button only. So now we are having that page styles, we have that our variant styles. Now let's work with that button. So what we're gonna do, first of all, we're gonna define a forward ref. Inside that forward ref, we're gonna define a function which the name it will be button. And now what we are going to return, first of all, we're gonna return that parameter, it will be variant, and that variant, default variant, it will be the solid variant. Okay, and also we will define the default color. That default color, it will be gray. And then we're gonna pass the it will be class name. And after passing the class name, we're gonna pass that href, and also we're gonna pass if any props is available to there. And after this portion, we're gonna pass our reference if we are going to refer in any way. Then we're gonna return something. And what we're gonna return in that, we're gonna pass through that class name, and it will be that class name for the CLSX sx. And then we're gonna pass our class name, it will be the base styles. That base styles, it will be passing as the variant style which will be available, and the variant styles, and the variant styles gonna take two parameter, one which will be the variant, and then it will define with that color. And after passing these two parameter, also we will take any class name we are providing by default. So that's the things is there. So after that, we're gonna return. So as we are returning from there, we no need to return this portion, so I'm gonna remove that. So now what we are going to return, okay, so how we gonna keep that return is that if there is the href is there, then we are going to return something, and if href is not there, like no reference is there, then we are going to return something. These two parameter we will follow. And we are having one error. I think we need to put one bracket which we are missing somewhere. It will not be here actually. That's the returning back bracket. Yeah, okay. So now for the first one, it will be the link value, and the second one we will just pass a default button. So it will be a little bit hectic if you are doing those things newly. So feel free to go slow and try to understand the way it's happening. It will make sense to you later on. And for that, we're gonna pass the referent, which will be the ref, and the href, it will gonna be the href which we are going to pass, and the class name, it gonna be the class name we are going to passing. It's gonna take the default one, and also if we passing something, then we're gonna take any props we can combine here. Now inside the button which doesn't have the link, that one, it will be just the reference and just the class name, which will be the class name, and also we will pass the parameter, the props. So now this will be our initial button. As you see, that's the button. Now we can call that button anywhere to create it from the scratch. So just reload that one. Okay, that button, I think okay, not defined. So let's go back to our header. Now we need to import the button, so we'll just import it from the button. Now if we head back, as you see, we are getting one button, which is the get advice. By default is the variant of that solid variant is working. So now we can actually go and combine through it. So our first button variant, it will not be the solid, it will be the outline. And whenever is outline, let's pass the href. By default href, what I'm gonna do, it will just render through in that page. I don't want it to be go anywhere. And the variant, it will be outline, and also I will pass some class name. The class name, it will be by default, it gonna be hidden. Once is in LG's screen, it will be show it block. As you see, we are having that button and other things here. So as you see, we're gonna have one button and then another one, and that button, it will be hire me. So in that button, the variant, it will take by default variant, but we're gonna pass that class name. Okay, and also we will pass one href, which will be href, it gonna be in the similar page. So now as you see, these two things is working fine, and if we just going back, scroll through, as you see, it's just hiding on that. So now it's time to create the other portion for the smaller screen, and to go with that, we need one library, which will be the React icons. We're gonna use all the icons from here. So let's import in our project. Now here we are going to create that mobile nav links, and to create that mobile nav links, first also we need to create another portion. We need to install one more things, which will be our headless UI for the React. Okay, let's install that one also, because we're gonna use that library to create that beautiful animation and beautiful looking that our scrolling things. So let's install that, because if we just go back in the lower screen, once you click in that, as you see, that animation is coming. So we're gonna use that headless UI to create that. So after installing, inside the header, what I'm gonna do, in the top label, I'm gonna do like const mobile nav links, and we will create a function. And inside that function, we will pass the props, and that props will take that ID, or not the ID, actually we're gonna pass everything as children, and also we're gonna pass every other props if we want to pass. And now we're gonna return, what we're gonna return is a pop over button. So let's go and pop over, it will be pop over. You need to import that pop over from headless UI React. It will be pop over button, and inside that pop over button, we're gonna take that, we're gonna pass that children to render. Okay, so that pop over button, how it gonna work? It gonna work as a link, because it will be the clickable link, and that link, whenever you are importing, you need to import that link from the next link. It will work as the next link. And for the class name, let's put the class name, it will be block. The text, it will be text base, and leading, it will be a 7. It will be tracking tracking it will be tight, and text gray 700. Okay, so now we are having our pop over button, and after defining that class name, also we're gonna pass any props if we are passing. It's just if you want to pass, if you don't pass also it will work just fine. So now we have our pop over button is ready. So what we gonna do now regarding that headless UI, you can feel free to go their website and learn a bit more if you don't understand over here. So this one we're gonna render inside that. Now first of all we're gonna take a pop over. Now inside that pop over we're gonna take some parameter. First of all, let's give some class name for that. It will be class name, and whenever it's gonna hit the LG screen it will be hidden. So now in the pop over screen we're gonna create one empty variable which gonna take a value for the open. So on it's open, how it will work, if it's closed, what it gonna show. Those two things we're gonna create right now. And to create that, after that one we need to define how it gonna be. So what we're gonna return is that we're gonna return an empty braces, and then we're gonna create that pop over dot button. So now inside that pop over button we're gonna render other things. So let's define that. It will be inside that braces open. So now also we need to actually, without returning, when it's open then we're gonna return something, when it's closed we are going to return something. So actually we're gonna return two icons which we need to import from the React icons. So the two icons, one will be the menu icon, one will be the arrow up icon. These two icons we are going to use. So first of all, if that menu is open then we need to show the arrow up icon. If the menu is closed we're gonna show up that menu icon. So if that one is open we're gonna show that. If it's closed, we're gonna show that. And for these two icon, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna give some class name. It will be text to Excel. Now if we just come through the smaller screen we should be able to see the icon. Okay, it's still, as you see, that icon available. Once you click, open that icon, close that icon. So these two things is actually working. So now what I'm gonna do, in the pop over button I am going to give some bunch of class name for that. Feel free to define all the class name the way I'm giving. So this will be the we are missing something. Okay, so this will be the class name. It will be the relative z10. Like, go through that class name. Some people are complaining some way that why you are just copy pasting the class name. Actually I tested those class name and it's working just fine. If I go through each and every single class name, typing in all the components, it will video it will be so long, then you will not watch in that way. So feel free to post the video, then you just type those things and check with the class name also, it will work just fine. So after giving that, if we just go over here, as you see, that effect is happening. Now also I'm gonna pass that area label for that, which gonna be that area label here. Okay, and also I think okay, we're missing some class name over here. It will be focus outline, it will be none, or an outline none. Okay, now that class name is complete. And also what I'm gonna do, so this part is complete. So now once we click, we need to render those things, and to render, after below that pop over button we need to initialize that our animate presence. So let's get that animate presence, and inside that animate presence also now what I'm gonna do, whenever that things is open, then what we want to show, we will return one empty braces, and inside that empty braces I'm gonna use that pop over, and that pop over this time we're gonna use that overlay, so it will be pop over dot overlay. Actually it will be the self-closing overlay. Okay, yeah, it will be self-closing overlay, and that overlay it will be static, and it will be work like as it will be work as the it will be work as motion div, and you need to import that motion. Okay, animate presence, then we need to pass that motion. Okay, so now it will work as a motion div, and now we need to define that things how it gonna work. So the initially the value it will be like we want it to be, initially it will be opacity 0, the animate it will be opacity will be 1, and exit it will be animate the default one, the 0, and we will pass some class name for it, and that class name it will be fixed in the top, so we're gonna make it as fixed, and in set it will be 0, and then bg gray it will be 100, or what I'm gonna do, instead of 100 I'm gonna pass the 300, and the variation I'm gonna give the 60%, and also I'm gonna give that backdrop at blur. So now once we click, okay, it's not coming, let's give a reload. Okay, it's not showing, and why it's not showing, I think it's problem with the class name. It will be in set 0, and the z it will be, we need to pass the 10, and also for that animate presence we need to pass that initially it will be like false. Okay, so the presence it will not work initially. As you click, you see there's a backdrop, like if we just remove that, we'll just make it remove this one, so you can see the actual background. As you see, that's the background we are having that. So now, and in the pop over layout like overlay, we're gonna pass another value which will be that pop over dot panel. So now inside that panel we will render through our other things. So inside that panel I'm gonna pass a div. Inside that div it will be the same way, that nav data dot map, and we're gonna passing that id, title, and also the href. Okay, so now we're gonna return, what we're gonna return, we're gonna return a title. Instead of that title, how we're gonna return is that with that mobile nav links. Inside that mobile nav links we're gonna pass that title, and now if we click, as you see, okay, some of the condition it will not it will be map, yes. Now if we click, okay, okay, but got undefined instead. Okay, first of all let's just fix those things. So first of all we're gonna go through that panel, we're gonna make it as static, and then we're gonna use it also as motion div, and then we're gonna pass that value for these two things. Oops. Okay, initially it will be 0 and y minus 32, so this is the very basic variable we are passing, and also we're gonna pass some class name for our pop over panel. It's just some predefined class name for that. As you see, the absolute inset 0, if you just put that class name it will work fine. And the way we are not looking at that, actually we need to pass the ref, because we create that as a link, like this entire div as working, that mobile nav links working as a link. So we need to pass an href, otherwise the error is gonna come. So after giving that href, now I think the error it will just go. Okay, now we can see that, so it's working. Now we will modify that one. So what I'm gonna do, give a class name, and it will be a space in y-axis, it will be 4, just to give those gap. And now also we need to pass that key as the ID. Okay, so now we are passing that, and let's make that z index as 0. Okay, so now it's working. As you see, you click, it's dropping, you click, it's go, and also if you click in feature, you see the feature thing is coming. So now the link also is working just fine. So after those two things, we need to get that our two button, and these two button actually we need also to pass after this variable. So we have this two button beforehand, remember we drop it in the top. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take this two button from there, gonna copy it, then I'm gonna pass a div. Inside that div I'm gonna pass that two button. So now, okay, this is not rendering because we need to pass it in the top. Okay, okay, still we can see. Just let me head back. So this is the button we are going to pass. Actually, okay, let's keep it down with that. So what I'm gonna do, class name, I'm gonna give an empty like margin top of 8, flex call in the column, and the gap it will be 4. And this button is available there but is not showing. Okay, because we are giving that class name to hide it, remember. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna remove that class name so it will show us the button. Okay, so now we can see the button as you see, and if we go to the larger screen, that will just get hide and everything is working pretty smooth. So now our header is working just fine. So what we need to do, we need to create our hero section. And to create the hero section, what I'm gonna do, let's close the all other tab, or closed all. Now inside the components, I'm gonna take another file which will be the hero.jsx rafce, ce, and that hero section we're gonna import in our page.jsx. Inside here on that main component, I'm gonna get that hero. Okay, let's import. So now we will be able to see that hero section is available. So now as we're gonna go with that hero section, first of all, to amplify in that way, we're gonna keep everything inside the section. So to do that, we're gonna take a section, and inside the section we're gonna pass that as container, and we need to import that container from the container. Let's import. And also that section, it's gonna go through that one ID which will be the home, so that we can render that ID with that. And also you're gonna pass some class name, and that class name it will be just go through some predefined way because we want to use that class name to show it in that way. So it will be overflow hidden, padding y20, and just giving a padding to look it nice and better. So inside that container, if we just make a lorem of 5, you can see the text is available. So this is actually coming for that padding of 20, like 32 for in the larger devices. So now we're gonna create regarding everything through that hero section. And before going that hero section, we need to change the title, and to change the title we need to go to the layout. Over here we will change the title. It will be investor, and then here invest guideline. And also to like replace that icon, what you need to do, you see inside that app we have one Fabi icon. Just I'm gonna remove that, I'm gonna delete that icon from here, and I'm gonna replace with the icon I have beforehand with the same portion. That's the icon I will replace. So after doing that, just give it a time to remove the caching because it will come in a short way. So now we are having that. It's time to make everything stand out for that hero section, which we're gonna do it right now. Inside that hero section, we're gonna remove that. We will have two different sections, which will be the right side, and also it will be the left side. So these two sides we need to create. And first of all, what we're gonna do, we're gonna keep everything inside a div, and in that div I'm gonna go through and give some class name for that div. Again, I'm saying try to type those class name and it will work just fine, because what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna make it, try to do it as short as possible so that you can feel free to go through it from the beginning till the end. So I'm gonna make it a grid, and the grid will only work from that LG devices, and I'm gonna make a grid cost of 12 to make by the 6 by 6, so it will work in that similar pattern. So after that div, let's go to the right section, and that right section, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna also dropping some class name for that, and that class name, what I'm making it, I'm gonna making it as a relative get index of 10 and giving a max width of 2 pixels. If you come over here, nothing is available, so we can see. So first of all, we are going to have a title. That's the title we need to create. And to create that title, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna particularly create a different component named title, so that we can call the title anywhere we want. So first of all, it will be title.jsx rafce to create the title component. And now this title, what actually we're gonna pass with that, we're gonna pass a text named title, we're gonna pass that class name, and also we're gonna pass any props we are passing through that. And now inside one h2 tag, we're gonna pass our title text, and the title, it will be the title. Now let's give some class name to that, and that class name we're gonna give with that clsx to create that functional things. And that one by default, it will be a font, I believe, yeah, medium. Font will be the medium, and tracking, it will be the tight, and text gray 900. So it will be the default one. And after giving that, also if we can also pass the class name if we are going to give any class name from the core, so it will be the class name. And after giving that, on the outside value we will pass if we are passing any props. So now our title is ready. So now inside that hero section, we can import that one. So let's import that title from title. Title. And now on that title, we need to pass the text. We're gonna pass it inside the title parameter, and the text, it will be invest at the perfect time. So after saving, we will be able to see, as you see, the invest as the perfect time. So it will be look in that similar pattern. In that way, to create in this similar way, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna pass a class name over here. It will be the class name, and the text, it will be 4 pixels. So now it looks a little bit larger. Now what I am gonna do, I'm gonna pass another p tag, and that p tag will contain the other text sort of things. So that p text giving us the other text, and also giving us that class name for that. And now because we are giving that a max width on that, so that now is taking that particular width for it. And also we need to pass two other things, which will be one image and will be one circle button. So what I'm gonna do, take a div, and inside the div I will pass that image on the next image. Now we have one image over here that calls that Play Store image, so I'm gonna import that one. It will be import, and that Play Store. And as we are using that ad, so what I'm gonna use that from the images, so that we can actually import that in that way. And after also we need to pass that I think the name is playstore.png. Now in that image we will give that source as Play Store. Alt tag it will be Play Store image. So now you see the image is available, and also we're gonna underline some of the class name for it. What it gonna be? It will be 32. So this is our first image, and the second one it will be one icon. We're gonna use that, and to that icon it will be that play circle. We're gonna import that icon from that React hero React icons. And now inside the button actually we're gonna pass that. So we're gonna take that button, and inside the button we're gonna make that be a circle, and also inside this pen tag we're gonna pass that watch the video. So now we're having the button and we're having the other things. So in the top label, first let's make that one looks better. So what I'm gonna do, empty, I'm gonna give it 8, flex, and then it will be flex wrap, item center, and the gap in x-axis it will be 6, and the gap, the initial gap, it will be 4. So it will come in that way. Looks nice. So now let's make some better on that button. That button variant, I'm gonna give it as outline, and in the href what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna pass a video. That will be the video over here, and the video I'm passing from my channel. As you see, if you come over here, you can see that video. That's the video I am passing. Feel free to come on the channel, look up the other videos. I have lots of more than 50 videos over here for different projects which can help you to gain a lot of knowledge in Next.js, React.js and other things. So feel free come and hit the subscribe and like the videos to reach in further level. So now I am passing one video for it, which is that one, and if we just hit the enter, you're gonna go and see that video is available for you. So that's the video. Now what I need to do, in that place circle, I'm gonna give a class name. It will be text, it will be Excel, like make a little bit bigger. And now in this pen tag, put some class name. It will be a margin left 2.5. Now as you see, that looks better. So everything is working fine. And also for that, I'm gonna make the height as auto. And after that, actually we can go through that left side proportion. Now in the left side we're gonna have the other things. So what I'm gonna do, in the left side I'm gonna give some class name to it. Okay, so either I can, as you see, there is lots of icons we are passing as the feature in. We can render that icons over on here, or we are giving that call span as 6 and the other 7. So like call span of 5 and the other one is the 7, so it's 12 column is passed. So actually we can pass our the logos over here after end of that div. It's a little bit cool way we can do it. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna show you how you can do it if you want to combine that. So to do that, I'm gonna pass it as extra logos.jsx rafce. So now I'm gonna import that extra logos from the extra logos. As you see, that is showing here because this section we're giving already the call span, and also for the other setup is already working fine, so no need to define any other things. So now what it gonna be available on the extra logos. In the extra logos, as you see in the logos, I have some logos here. So we need to import that logos in the extra logos, then we can combine with that. So first of all, let's import those logos. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna just import those logos from the logo. You just need to put that logo name and that logo, so it will work in that way. And I'm taking that next image because I will use that image component. And now I'm gonna pass that as logos, and then I will create one array of logos, and that array will combine two things, which will actually three things, which will combine one ID, one title, one logo. So that's the array we're gonna pass on that. So now inside that logo, on that particular div, we're gonna have a p tag. It will be as featured in. So now you will be able to see that text as featured in. Now it's breaking down because we need to give that column length for it. As you see, we're giving that LG screen the call span on 7, and the Excel devices is call span of 6. So now as you see, as feature in is available, and for the p tag also I'm gonna pass some of the class name for it. Okay, and that LG and MD, whatever is you're seeing over here, it will be responsible for creating that responsive design. So now after that p tag, we can take an UL, an order list. Then what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna map through that logos, and from there I'm gonna take the title, also the ID and the logo, and then I'm gonna return a list item, and inside that list I'm going to return a image, and that image, the source, it will be logo, and alter tag, it will be also the logo, or actually it will be title. And now I'm going to give a class name, hide, it will be the 8, and also I will define that unoptimized. I don't want to optimize that image, as is all our SVG. And for that li, I'm gonna give that key as the ID. So now you can see the images are available. To make it looks better in that unordered list, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna make it as, I'm gonna give a role as list, and also I'm gonna pass that class name. It will be mx auto, all the things it will be in the middle, and empty it will be 8, flex, and oops, I forget to give the max width, which will be Excel. And also I'm gonna make it a flex, flex, it will be wrap, flex wrap, and justify center, gap in x-axis, it will be 10, okay, 10, and also in gap in y-axis it will be 8. Now you'll see the logo looks a little bit better. And now also I need to pass two other things. Okay, it's not the gap, it will be gap in y-axis, that's why you cannot see the variation in the y-axis. And after that, what you need to do, LG mx, it will be 0, and LG justify start. Okay, now as you see, that logo and other things is looks the similar of that. And this portion of that designing for that scrolling we're gonna create once we have that scroll thing is activated, then we're gonna create it. So now we're done with that the left portion, and now we need to create that right portion. So that right portion to create, let's go head back to the hero section, and in the hero section over here we're gonna create that. So first of all, we're gonna create that background design, which you can see that background design is overlay design is happening. So we will create that, and to create that one we'll take a file which will be it will be background design.jsx rafce. Now we're gonna import that design over here. Background design, and that design we're gonna create. And this background design, it will be actually coming through an SVG. So if you are having a limited understanding of SVG, feel free to go to learn how the SVG is working. But in our today's video, all the SVGs I'm gonna keep one file, and then I'm gonna provide it to you. So this background design will take everything, whatever the pops it gonna receive, it will take. And also we're gonna give a ID for that, the const ID, it will be using that use ID from React. Don't forget to import it from the React. So now on that div, actually we're gonna pass the value, like whatever the props we are passing, we're gonna pass it, and then we're gonna define actually the 2SVG over here to create that circle. So the 2SVG will be responsible to create the circle. So it's just everything to create make the circle is happening. Now here is one for that animate spin slow, because 2SVG is there. One is bigger, one is the smaller. As you see, you can see the 2SVG. So these two, as that one is the bigger one, that one is the smaller one. So this is the 2SVG we are creating to make the circle around. Because if I am creating SVG from the scratch, it will take a lot of time. If you want to learn about more SVG, let me know in the comments below. I'm gonna show you how you can create SVG from the scratch, SVG icon from the scratch. But for today's video, all the SVG icon, it will be available in the description below. So feel free to download and use it. So now, as you see, I am having that. But also what I need to do, I'm gonna pass some class name for that portion to make it looks bigger. And to do that, I'm gonna pass that class name, which gonna be absolute, and left in the half, right in the half. So I'm just keeping it in the middle and giving a height and weight. So feel free to go through all the class name, and after initializing those class name, you will end up to create on that. But as you see, there is the animation is happening, but in our animation is not happening, and that is because particularly we are declaring here two animation. Okay, let me find it for you. Two animation, one is animate spin slow, and the another one animate spin reverse slower. So we need to declare that two animation inside our tailwind.config.js. So first of all, let's go in the bottom over here. I'm gonna declare the animation, and that animation I'm gonna just get through all the animations I'm gonna create. So this is the animation all of you, the fade in, spin slow, spin slower, reverse, reverse slower, spin reverse slower. So feel free whichever you are going through to use. And after giving that animation also, you're gonna see those things still not spinning. Okay, it started spinning, but one is not working. It because we need to also modify the keyframes with according to that one. So I'm gonna just drop that keyframes which I pass. As you see, for the spin reverse, there is keyframe which you're gonna rotate -360°. Now you're gonna able to see that animation is working. As you see, those two animation is working just fine. So now, okay, let's go back to the background design. Okay, everything is working smooth. Okay, now if this things is working fine, so what we need to do in that hero section, after that backdrop design which we just created, background design, so after below that design we will define one div, and inside that div, as you can see in the previous design, we have this portion, that animate portion we're gonna create. And to create that, I have already one SVG for that phone frame SVG. You can use the image, but SVG is good because we can customize inside layout, inner layout. So that SVG also, it will be available in the description. So now to create that, let's create a file which will be phoneframe.jsx RAFCE. Oops. Okay, now inside that phone frame, we're gonna create that phone frame. Okay, so also we need to import that like phone frame, and we're gonna pass that phone frame over here. Because why I keep that in that layout, because inside that home phone frame, we're gonna pass that a feature which gonna be available later on. We're gonna create that also. And to implement that one, first of all, let's go to initialize that. On the phone frame, we're gonna create one placeholder, like the placeholder frame, and it will be const this placeholder frame. We're gonna declare a function, Now what it gonna take that placeholder frame, it gonna take everything as like whatever the props we're gonna pass, it gonna take everything as the props. Then inside that props we're gonna return a simple svg. So that's svg, it will be this one, the svg. So this will be responsible to create all the features. Don't worry, all the links and other, especially this every single files, it will be available on the video, on the link, because I'll give you the GitHub description so you can create your own. So don't freak out if that looking you and on the SVG, it will be available there. So now in the phone frame we're gonna pass also some variable, which it gonna be pass any default class name we're gonna provide to it, and also it gonna take anything we are passing it as a children, and it gonna also giving us the priority, and by default the priority it will be the false, and also whatever the props we're gonna pass, it gonna take that props as the value. So these are the things we're gonna passing it there. And now what we're gonna return inside that phone frame, inside the div, what we're gonna do, we're gonna take two more div. Okay, so first of all let's just give some class name to that div. It will be the class name, and we're gonna use that CLSX because the class name, it will be the conditional class name. And first it gonna be relative, and the aspect ratio, that aspect we're gonna give our default aspect ratio, it will be 366 divided by 729. That's the ratio we're gonna use. And also if we are passing any class name, it gonna take, and also if we are like after that, it gonna also take any props we are passing, it will take that as parameter. So these are the things we're gonna initialize. And now what I'm gonna do, inside that div I'm gonna pass one self-closing div. Oops, it will be okay. Oops, it will be div. Okay, div. Now this self-closing div have some class name with that to create some interactive features. Okay, so this is the class, because we are doing all other things to just create that phone frame. As you see, that portion is available, which is gonna come inside plate over here. So this is the things we are creating in a definable way. And also we're gonna create another div which gonna take as the children, because whatever we pass inside here, it gonna take as children, and that div, it will be responsible to create that inner pattern. So this is the div. So now as you see, that's the inside phone frame inside pattern we created. So this is the pattern. So write those class names very carefully, don't mess it around, then it will not work. And now we need to also import the frame. From that frame, as you see, we are having a frame, that phone frame as svg. So I'm gonna import that frame, that from at, it will be the images, and then the name, it will be the phone frame dot svg. So that's the one we're gonna use as the phone frame. So after passing that div which having the children, in the value we're gonna pass one placeholder image, like the placeholder frame. We have been creating that frame here, that's the frame we are passing. And that frame we're gonna also having some class name with that frame, and that class name we're gonna pass that pointer events non absolute, and just giving inside and out to create that beautiful feature on it. So now okay, we are having one error with that. The image it's cannot found. Okay, let's just go in the top, it will be images, that's why it cannot see. Okay, now as you see, we are having our phone frame is ready. It looks fine, and it's actually similar with that phone pattern. So now what we need to do, we need to pass that image, and that image we need to import from that next image. And inside that image, on the source folder, we're gonna pass that the frame as frame, and that in the alt tag we will pass it as the frame also, and that class name we will just define some class name with that, and we're gonna make it an unoptimized image, and the priority we're gonna actually giving that as a top priority, so we will define that priority, it will be the priority. So now as you see, our frame is ready, it's good to go. So this is the, from this one we need to modify in that way. So now let's go back to hero section, as we are done over here. Inside that hero section where we declare that font frame, so in the top label, or actual in the top label, we're gonna just go and grab some class name for that. The top label of the div, what it gonna be, we're just giving some width and height to give an proprietary level. As you see now, that looks much more hectic, because what we have, we're gonna, oops, it will be, we're gonna give that max width of 366 pixel, and also it gonna be MX auto to keep it in the middle. So after giving that, you're gonna see now this is our font frame is ready and is similar with that, but we need to create that feature so that we can pass that feature over here. So now let's go and create that feature, and to create that feature we'll take another file which will be that feature.jsx rafce, and now we need to also import that feature inside that font frame. Okay, so this feature we will be responsible to create all the inside thing. And for the app feature, what we're gonna do, we're gonna actually let's go back inside the app feature, and first of all we need those other things which we will import. We need to make it as use client because we're gonna use that hooks and other things. Now we also need to define the prices over here, so that's the prices we're gonna use. Okay, what's we made wrong framer? Okay, the app is screen we didn't create yet because we need to create it first. So let's create that app screen .jsx. Okay, so now if we go, I'm gonna remove other parts. Okay, now it's working. So what I'm gonna do, I'm defining the prices. Now actually I'm just giving you the step-by-step guideline. If you feel free, you're gonna create that, but to just understand it, you need to exercise it in a more default way, because within 2-3 hours it's difficult to explain all about the things. Now I'm giving a max width and height. Now I'm gonna create the chart, and to create the chart I'm gonna take the prices and other things and gonna define it in that way. As you see how we are creating that chart, because to create those things from the scratch needs individual video. So whenever we are hovering, as you see the price dropping down and also how it's changing in those pattern, we are creating those portion. So this is the responsible to create those things. So it's gonna taking as the props we are passing on that, and also we are getting the width and also the ID in defined way which we are passing on that, and then we are returning a simple SVG which gonna be responsible to create that clip path to show us in a rotating way. So that's simple as it is. So now this SVG actually we can use it in that way. So first of all, in that F feature we need to create the other part, because the main feature is that F feature. So the chart portion it gonna be rendered in that way, because that app feature also we're gonna combine it in the later on in the bottom section. We're gonna create it also in that proportion. Now first let's create one app screen we already created. So inside the app screen, how actually we're gonna pass those things. So first of all, we need those things to import. We need that two icon, which will be one user and one will be the tab menu, these two menu, and also we need to import that our logo, because we're gonna use that logo. So let's import logo from logo. So now we need to pass those things to create those app feature. because it will be initially those portion, and also it will be initially those portion responsible to create those feature. So here I'm gonna pass it as children. I'm gonna take any children we are passing, the class name we are passing, that also we will take, and any of the props we are passing, we're gonna take it. And in the return section, what I'm gonna do, inside the div on the class name, I'm gonna take it as with that CLSX to combine with that. And now I'm gonna make it a flex and flex column portion, and after passing that class name, I'm gonna take the default class name, whatever class name we are returning, and then also we are going to pass that props. If we are passing any of the props, we're gonna render inside over here. So now instead of this portion, I'm gonna take a div. Now inside the div, I'm gonna pass that the menu icon and also the logo. Oops, it will be okay, it will be self-closing logo, and also I'm gonna use that for user icon. So these three icon we are going to use inside there. So now to particularly let those things to come in action on that tab, I'm gonna give those class name, and for to make those two tab is to work, what I'm gonna do, give a class name, it will be the text Excel, and the text it will be white. And for the logo, what I'm gonna do, give a class name, it will be, oops, it will be the text initial text, it will be the gray 300. Okay, and then whenever we're gonna hover the text, it will be white, and then I'm gonna pass the text in Excel, and duration will be the 300. So this will this the portion we are creating, that's the header portion which will gonna come from the app screen. So now that app screen also will be responsible to create that title, which we are passing the title, subtitle, and the text we're gonna give it to here, the button we're gonna give it. So what I'm gonna do, initially I'm gonna define everything here. So by default it will take everything as app screen, and then also I need to define every single proportion we're gonna combine from that app screen, such as it will be app title, which is gonna coming with the function children and reference you're gonna take, and we'll pass the children, and the subtitle the same, and also the body it will be the same, just the class name it will be different, that's the changes it will be there, and the header to create those header portion on the part as you see in the top, so to create that portion. So as we are passing, just save it, the app screen is okay. So now as we are initializing in the app feature, we need to describe what it gonna be inside that app screen. So in that app feature, because we already declared the chart, so now that's the chart we are already defined. Okay, so now what I need to do, I need to pass some state, and that state it gonna be, I'm gonna just import that state. First it gonna give us the active pointer index, which we're gonna set null at the beginning, that active price index, and then active value, the previous value. This value we are passing to just randomize through whenever we are going through that, as you see is showing on that. So to passing that one, we need to pass that as the value we need to set that value in the beforehand. In the return, instead of the div, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna pass that app screen. Okay, it will be that app screen, and now inside that app screen, remember I have that app screen, that body we are passing beforehand. So now we can actually go through and get the body. Remember the body we are giving there inside the app screen, that will be the altogether the body part is there. So individually we can take title, subtitle, and this is the body we are here, because we are passing that body inside here as a children. So that body we are calling, which will take the children and class name, and then we're gonna pass everything inside the children, and that is the class name, which is really important to create that, because that one will be responsible to create this inner part. And now inside app feature, what I am gonna do, I'm gonna take a div, and that div, let's give a class name, which will be the padding. I'm gonna give a padding of 4, and now inside that div I'm gonna take another div. Okay, and on the div let's take some portion, and now investor left dot, it will be, I'm gonna pass that inc. Okay, let's go over here. As you see, the icon is available. That icon is coming if we just remove that one. Once we are hitting with that app body, because that app body is consisting with that icon which we are passing in the top label, so it will just amplify whenever we are calling that app body. We can see that icon, and that icon is working pretty much fine. So now we need to create the other feature. So let's open hook that one. So that investor text, and for that text we need to pass some class name. First of all, let's go in the top label. I'm just gonna go one by one. In the top label it will be a flex. Oops, it will be a flex, and the gap it will be 2, and in that layer the class name it will be text extra small, oops, xs, and leading it will be a 6, leading 6, and also it will be the text gray of, just give it 500. So after giving that, okay, it's still not visible, so it's gonna come in that way. So first of all, that app screen body is still not showcasing, and we still cannot see anything here, because it's supposed to see that investor labs inc. It will, I believe there is something we are making error. Let's go to the app screen. As you see, we are taking the children, but we are not passing the children anywhere. We are not returning the children. So what I'm gonna do, I need to return the children in some way, otherwise it will not render. So you're gonna pass the children, and after passing the children, now we can see that name of the company. So that's the things we are creating already here. So now let's create the other portion. Let's get through that other. So after that div, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna passing another div in the below of that. As you're making it a flex, so it will be visible in a very unique way. So that's the portion we create. Now this one, that as you can pass any icon, or if you follow me, you can pass through that svg. I'm gonna pass it as svg. So after that div, I'm gonna pass that icon svg here. So that's the svg to responsible to create that. So now this is done. Now after passing, that is the title we passed. So now after passing the title, we need to pass the other things, which will be that the numbering and then other layout. So let's create that. And then I'm gonna take another div, and that div it will be going through some of the class name, which will be like margin top of 3, border top, we're gonna give a border top. As you see, that's the border we create with that div. Now inside that div, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna render another div and then another, and inside that I'm gonna make that activate like the active value we're gonna pass that active value. Anyway, as you can see, whenever we are showing it going through that active value, which is coming through that hover effect we are setting in that state over there. So that will be the active value dot to fixed. We're gonna fix that value in a to value. Okay, so that we're gonna pass, but first of all you will not see anything. Okay, you're gonna see the initial state of value, but you will not see the changing value because we don't have any changing value yet. So we're gonna create that. And first of all, let's go in that top level of the div, which we're gonna combine that class name. We're gonna make that item based and given a gap of 2. And for that, this particular text over here, what we're gonna do, we're gonna also give some class name, which will be the text. We're gonna give the to axle, and we're gonna make that tabular. We're gonna make it tabular nums, and that tracking we're gonna put that tight, and also the text gray we're gonna pass it as 900. So now you can see that is the things we created. So what we have, we need to also pass that UST. Now in it, like after below this one, we're gonna pass that UST. to create that UST tab. Now also we need to create that percentage portion, so you're gonna go through with that percentage to create that percentage. After that we're gonna pass that. If there is a percentage change is available there, then we're gonna return something. We're gonna return a div. It will be div. Okay, it's not giving us the closing div. Okay, now inside the div we need to pass that percentage value. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take the backtick, and inside that backtick what I'm gonna define, I'm gonna define that percentage change. If it's bigger than 0, then what it gonna render, it gonna render something which is gonna be a plus icon, and if it's smaller than 0 it gonna render nothing. Okay, so these are two things we're gonna render. And after this initial portion I'm gonna take another parameter which is gonna be a percentage change dot to fixed. We're gonna make it to fixed, which will be the 2, and then we're gonna define also a percentage tag. So this will be for our giving the percentage. So that is the percentage mark we are having. And also what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna give some class name with that, and that class name it will be go with that CLSX. Okay, we need to import that. Okay, it's already there. So that's the class name. If it's active it's gonna give us the blue. If it's not active, like if it's small bigger than 0 it's gonna show as blue. If it's smaller than 0 then it's gonna give is like the gray. So if it's like dropping, as you see it's a minus, is giving the gray. If it's higher it's giving the blue. That's the effect it's gonna give us. So now we already created that a percentage variation. So below that we need to create the other things, and which will be responsible to create that let's div that one day. So that day portion we're gonna create on that. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna just popping up all the day icon like the date text, and one will be marked with the text blue to show is as the active. So that's the portion like 1 month, that will be the active, and other things it will be the normal. So that's the portion we created over here because we are making it in a flex, so it looks pretty nicer. So now it's time to define our chart. So after finishing that div, I'm gonna take a div over here, then I'm gonna pass our chart, and it will be the self-closing tag. If we just save it, we'll see it nothing, and because we need to define the index and other variable. So we're gonna give a weight which will be 286, and also the height it will be 208. And now padding in x-axis it's gonna be a 16, and padding in y-axis it's gonna be 32. And then active point index, we're gonna make that active point index the index 1, and on change active point index we're gonna just make that as a set active point index. So in that way it's gonna find and capture the variable to pass whatever we are indicating. So as you see now, we are setting up with that active variable, and that design actually we are passing inside the chart. So now you see that is giving us the logical value and working just fine. So in the top layer of that, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna just pass some predefined class name on that level of the div. So it will be empty2 and rounded LG, and yeah, looks great. So that's the portion is there. So now below that, what I'm gonna do, because we have some other this button and also the other text, so we will generate that one in below. So after finishing that layer, that the chart layer, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take another div where I'm gonna pass that as thread. Either you can use that button tag, or you can, it's better to create a simple button for this portion, and this button it will be responsible with those class names. So you can see that's the button is already here, but we cannot see. First of all, to amplify that, okay, I'm gonna drop all the things which it gonna be inside over here, because we need to give a below height to see that. Oops, I think I make something wrong. So it gonna be, yeah, I take one div ahead. So now that will be the bottom, which will be the open, close, and the other variation which we are showing. Okay, so that's the div. Okay, to see the button and other portion, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna keep it in that app feature in that way. First of all, let's go and create the footer, then we can actually see that. And to create the footer, I'm gonna just type that footer.jsx and then rafce, and that footer we are going to pass in the layout because we need to see that footer in all the other pages. So it will be the footer we're gonna import from the footer. So now, as you see, we can see the footer. Or before we go through that footer, actually I believe the problem is over here. As you see, Excel padding bottom, it will be 36, not 3. That's why we cannot see that padding portion. Now after giving and hit the save and refreshing, we will be able to see that portion. Now you see that we are having the trading portion. And now, okay, let's just reload. I think we are missing something. Okay, it's okay. So now also, if we just go through that lower screen, as you see, that looks perfect. So in that way, we finish our hero section. So as we just started our footer section, let's go and finish that footer. And in that footer section, we are going to have two portion. One will be that copyrights, and then another it will be that email portion. And to create that, first of all, let's head back to our footer. Now in that footer, instead of taking the div, I'm gonna take as the footer tag, and then I'm gonna pass that I'm gonna take that container from that container, and inside that container I'm gonna pass a div, and inside that div I'm gonna pass that p tag, which will be responsible to create that. So just we're gonna pass that the year variable. Okay, as you see, so the year is gonna giving us the full year of this year. If you just initialize is the other year, it's gonna pass that's the same variable. So now what I'm gonna do, in the top level of the div over here, I'm gonna pass some class name, and before giving the class name, we will generate the other portion. After the p tag, we will generate also one form. Now inside that form, there will be no action. What we're gonna generate, we're gonna generate a to text field and then to button. And to generate the text field, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna create a text field .jsx. And now we're gonna call that text field wherever the text field is necessary, and that's how we can implement anything on that text field. I'm gonna show you, because that text field, like it will be a particular text field to generate some of the to define the text input. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna first define a from classes. That will be the default classes which we're gonna define for that text input, and then we will create a function, and that function it gonna call as level, or we will make it uppercase. Now that function will take a two parameter. It will take the ID and it will take the children. And now what it gonna return, it gonna return a level, and on that level it will be HTML for that portion. It will be the ID it gonna receive, and it gonna pass the parameter as that children. Okay, so now also we will give some class name for it. That class name will be the simple class name, which will be the margin bottom of 2, block, text SM, font semi-bold, and text gray of 900. So now we are declaring the label, and in the text field, what we're gonna do, we're gonna receive that ID, which we're gonna pass through it. We're gonna receive the label, and type, by default the type it will be the text type, and we can pass any type parameter if we want. Then also we will take the class name, and we also gonna take any of the props we are going to receive. Need to put a comma here. And now what we gonna return over here, we're gonna return a div, and inside the div we're gonna pass the label. If the label is available, then it will be the label parameter will be applicable, and inside that label what we're gonna pass that label. I think okay, it will be el, that's why giving that error. So the label, and inside that, well, we are passing the label, and to match through the actual label we're gonna pass that id, which will render through that particular id. And after that label we are also going to return some other parameter, which will be okay, what I'm gonna do, instead of keeping it, I'm gonna just put it in a return format. Oops. Okay, so now after that label we will also pass one input, and that input it gonna be type, will be the type we will pass, and also it will take any props if we are passing the props. Oops, it will be the props, and also we need to rectify here, which will be the props. And what we are going to give the class name, it will be the class name from the from class names we are giving in the top. So this the class names it gonna take. So this is the particular that what you call that the text input field, which we are declaring here the text field. So now we can actually import that one in our footer. So on the footer in the form, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take that text field, and we're gonna import it from that text field. And inside that text field we need to give some parameter, which will be like, it will be giving the type of email, area label of the email address, placeholder, and other things. Now if we see, we can actually see that text input field is available. But what I'm gonna do to make it looks a bit cool, in that from over here we're gonna give some class name, which will be flex, and width it gonna be take full, justify it will be a center, md the width it will be auto, and also margin top it will be 6, and md it will be margin top it will be 0. So there's things to take it initially, the work on that. We need to give some class name on the div, it will be a flex, and by default it gonna take the flex call like in the column proportion. So I'm gonna popping up those class name over here. So you're gonna flex call item center, and giving a border top and other things. So if we save, as you see that portion is, we can now find this is the portion. So now it's time to add the button over here. So that's the footer, and we have one button. And to amplify that button, what I'm gonna do, after that text field, I'm gonna input that button which we create beforehand, and on that button I'm gonna actually define two span tag. Like one span tag, it will contain a text of join our newsletter, it will show only in the larger screen, and the other one it will show in the smaller screen, which should be the join newsletter. So if we hit the save and we go, you can see the button is available, but it's coming with that default variation. So what I'm gonna do, inside that button I need to pass the variation of the type. The type it will be the submit type, so we can submit with that button. And the color, we need to pass the color of blue to get the actual variation. And the class name we're gonna pass the margin left, it will be a 4, and the flex it will be none. After hitting the save, as you see, we already get our newsletter button. So this is our footer, and our also the hero section is done. So this is the time to create the portion of that feature section. So we are now going to create that feature section. Let's create a component called a feature. So it will be feature.jsx array-fce. So now we need to import that feature in our pages. So it will be a feature and we will be able to see our feature section. So it will pop up here. As you see, that's the feature. So now what we gonna have inside that feature? Inside that feature we have one text title which will be in the top, and then we have the to portion which will indicating the changing pattern on the devices. So first of all, so let's go inside that feature, and now what I will do first, I will keep it as a section, and then I will pass in that with a container. Inside that container I will take a div, then I will pass that title. Remember, we already created a title to explaining all the title therefore. So now in that title we will pass a variable which gonna contain that title text, and now for that title text also we will pass some class name. Oops, it will be text, it will be white, and also the text it will be, let's give it a 2xl. Oops, it will not inside the class name, and the text will be 2xl. Let's go back to there. Okay, container, we need to import the container first. Okay, that's our container. So now here the text is available, but we keep it as black so that the white, that's why we cannot see it. So first of all, in the top level of that section, what we will do is that to give the ID of that, and also the area label, and also the class name to provide that unique feature. So after saving, we're gonna see that feature. As you see, that is the feature section. So now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna also popping up that text which will be available immediate after the title. So that will be the text portion, and also for the text we are giving that margin top of 2 text LG and text gray of 400. So after that portion on that div we will create two views. One will be that desktop view, and another it will be for the mobile view. So you will create that two view particularly. So let's create that desktop view. So we'll take another file which will be desktop view.jsx rfce, and this desktop view we're gonna get it in the feature which will be desktop view. And what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna wrap it with a div over here. So on that div I'm gonna give some class name, and that class name will contain it will be by default it will be hidden, and MD it will be margin top of 20 pixel, MD it will be block, and max width it will be screen axle, and also we're gonna make it MX auto. So now if we come, as you see that desktop view is here, so now we can actually see it here. So let's make some other modification. Actually you can keep it a desktop feature or view, whatever the name you keep, it will be fine. So first of all, what I'm gonna do, actually I'm gonna get all over the things, like I will make it as a use client feature because we're gonna use that fragment and use effect hook, and also I will import that CLSX because we're gonna make some function from there. Then I'm gonna, or okay, we can import later on part by part. So in the desktop view, previous first of all we're gonna use like use previous. So we will create that function use previous to modify and see what will be that in previous, and that one will take value as a parameter, and then inside that value, so we're gonna pass that let ref which will be passing from that use ref, and after that after that we will use that use effect hook to combine that, also we need to enclose that with the curly with the third brackets, and then we're gonna make that ref.current equal to value, and whenever the value will be changed, also we're gonna the reference will be changed, so that ref.current will be actually the value, and if we change the value it will automatically change. As you see, we are having one error because that one we need to import. We will use that use the bounds, so let's install that one. And also it's a pretty popular library, so let's install it here. And on the desktop view, we are going to also clarify some of that state which we're gonna define here. And this state is gonna be like change count and set change count, and also the selected index. We are going to create those portion. Whenever we select, this parameter will change, the data will change once we select that parameter, and this particular field gonna giving that effect also. So now after also that on change function, we are using with that use the bounds callback function. So now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna use that a tab. Remember, we already import a tab from that headless UI, so we are going to use the tab to create that parameter. So the first one, it will be a tab.group, and inside the tab.group, what I'm gonna put that it will be tab.list. So inside that group, first one we're gonna pass a list, and then we're gonna pass the other formation. So inside that tab list, we're gonna create that actual thing. So first of all, this tab.group, we're gonna pass it as div, and then we are going to give some a grid pattern. So grid get calls 12 and the item center gave 8, just simple class name with that, and we are passing that selected index as a selected index, and then we are passing with that on change function which we are declared here, which we'll using that on the bounds callback. So with that, we are actually getting the overall feature. So now in the tab list, we need to get through our feature. Okay, so we need to create that feature portion to actually toggle through and get through all the mapping portion. So to create that, I'm gonna take another file which will be a frame view.jsx rafce. So in this file, we will create all the frame feature like this particular text and other things. So now this particular text, as you see, we are having 3 icons. So I'm gonna use that icon as svg icon. So in that particular file, I'm gonna declare this 3 icon. As you see, you can use the image if you like. So I will use the device touch icon, and that will be my one icon, and another it will be the device notification. Okay, I think it's not properly, I didn't take it properly, so it will be combining 3 icons. One will be the device touch icon, one will be the device notification, and another will be the device user icon. These 3 icons is that using those SVG portion. So you can use any other properties. If you'd like to use the images, you can use the images. Those things, everything, it will be there. Don't worry about that. So now, first of all, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take all other things. Let's just initially import that. We're gonna use that use ID from the React, and remember we have one app screen. We're gonna use that app screen here, and we're gonna use that framer motion, and that all the stock logo, because we are going to implement one file which will contain all the logo over here. So these are the logo we're gonna use, and that logo is combining that Labarel tulip transistor. This is the logo we are passing, so don't worry about that. That's just a simple SVG logo. You can use any images to create that logo, so you can you can use the similar logo from that SVG, because that particular images, you will find all the images and this file inside that images folder, which I'm gonna give it to you. You'll find in the description, so then you can import that files from there. So that's the same way I'm importing everything from that file to get that logos. Now in the from view, what I need to do, in the top layer, I will create two parameter. One parameter, it will be that motion app screen header, and it will take the motion as a parameter, and that we will take that parameter from app screen.header. Remember, inside our app screen we have our app screen header, app screen body, everything is available here. So from there we're gonna import and implement. And also for that motion app screen body, we are taking that app screen body. So now after that we need to create the animation state, because those animation we need to predefine beforehand. So now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna just make that const header animation, and that animation we will pass what kind of animation we will follow through. So the first initial, and then the animate, and then the exit. These three value it will capture. So that will be our initial state, that then animation it will follow that stage, and the exit value it gonna follow on that. And also we're gonna give that const max j index, it will be follow with that, the super index. And then we are going to give a variant which it will combine with that body variant backwards. So whenever it go with the backwards, as you see, once you click, this part is going to be shadow in the backwards, then the other one coming to the forward. That backward variance is actually responsible to create that formation. And after that we also need to make that variant forwards. So it's a backward. Let's type that const body. Yeah, we need to make that body variance forward. Oops, it will be body variant forwards. And that also will take a parameter, and it will take the custom as predefined value. And now actually what we gonna return, we're gonna return an object, and inside that object we're gonna pass the other value. So that value, it will be simply three value will be there, which will be that y will be the 100%, z index will be the max index which we are passing there, and also it's gonna follow through minus that custom change count if we're giving, and the transition will be the duration 0.4. And now after that we are going to pass another animation which will be the body animation. So that's gonna follow through the body animation, and body initial it will follow the initial, and animate, exit. So that's the variant we are giving to follow through the initial, like the body animation. Just go with that each and every class name carefully, it will work. And what I'm saying you to toggle through each and every particular details, and it will work for you, because if I explain each and every single individual gonna take another separate video. So try to use that as much as possible, it will make sense to you. So now in the frame view we need to create three screen. One will be that screen, invite people, another one will be the stock, and another, the last one, it will be the buy. So these three screen I need to create. And to create that, let's first create that. Actually what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna create the one, so it will be the function, and the first one it will be stock screen. And that stock is screen, I'm gonna take the parameter as custom, and the animated, by default the animation will be the false state. So now what I need to return, I'm gonna return the parameter from that app screen. Remember we have that app screen, and inside that app screen we're gonna pass the other things. We're gonna pass that motion screen header. Remember we defined it earlier, and inside that motion is app screen header, what we're gonna do, we're gonna pass that parameter, and that parameter will contain everything as animated. If it's animated is there, then it will get that, oops, it will get that header animation, otherwise it will get empty. Okay, I think the animated we messed up, because we passed the name as animate, it will be animated. Yeah, so now it looks fine. And after that over here we need to pass that app screen dot title. So the title portion will be there, and that title it will be named that stocks. Remember actually as you see, if we go in the stock You see, the stock is title and the date is there. So these two things we are creating. So first of all, we're gonna create that app title, and then we're gonna create that app subtitle. And how this title and subtitle will look, we are defining here. As you see, that's the class name we are providing for the subtitle, that's the class name we are giving for the title. So feel free to toggle through and change the value if you want to explore a bit. So now let's go back in that frame view. Now after that motion header, as the motion app header is done, inside that app screen we're gonna pass that motion body, I believe. Yeah, it will be motion app screen body. So now inside that body, again for that animation, we gonna define some of the things. If the animated is there, it's gonna take a parameter the animated, and if it's the body animation there, it will take the custom. Otherwise, like animated there, then it will just take that body animation and custom whatever we are providing. Otherwise it will be an empty screen. And now we inside that div, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna give some class name to the div, and then we're gonna pass that other parameter. And now actually you can combine that passing with a different array, but what I will do, I'm gonna pass that through this array. So I'm gonna create that array. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna pass it and I'm gonna drop that array here. So you can define that array elsewhere and then you can pop it up here, but I will just combine it the way it looks better. So that's the array we are passing with that's the icon, and then the text, then the other parameter I'm declaring. So the name, price, change, color, and also the logo we are individually passing. Now from that array we particularly gonna map through it. So let's map, and then after mapping we're gonna return that stock, and that stock gonna pass with a div. So let's make that div. Now inside that div we're gonna give the key for that div because it's rendering, and that div it will be the stock dot name. It will be the name, and also we're gonna pass some class name for that. The class name it will be a flex item center, and the gap it will be a 4, and padding in x-axis it will be 4, padding in y-axis it will be 3. Now inside that parameter I'm gonna take another div, and inside that div what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna pass that stock dot logo, and that logo will be the height of 10 and the width of 10, same width and height we are providing here. And also this particular parameter of div, what we're gonna do, we're gonna give it a flex non-rounded full, and also the style, the background color will be that color we are passing here. So you can change the color and you're gonna toggle through and change a bit to understand it a bit better. And now what I'm gonna do, after passing that icon, we gonna pass that name of that particular things. That name it will be that similar name over here, and after that name we need to create a div. Inside that div we're gonna pass that 2 parameter. So when end of this div I'm gonna take another div. It will be another div, and now inside that div first parameter it will be our stock dot price. That's the price we wanna give. As you see, that's the portion. And now we need to explain about that stock change. I think we give the name of change. Yeah, stock change, that will be the percentage. And inside the other div I'm gonna pass that 2 things. So now in that div we're taking a class name which gonna start with that a plus sign, as you see, coming with plus and minus sign if the item is there or not. So it's defined with that condition, and we are giving that change a hit. So now that's the screen we have been created. So that screen is called stock screen, which we can pass as the parameter. And the similar way I'm gonna create another screen which will be the other screen, which will be the invest screen. As you see, that's the same, the custom parameter I'm passing, but the changing is that the content we are changing. Go and just give through the level through all the parameter to go with that custom parameter. And another screen will be, that is the invite screen, which will be the first actually. So we're gonna pass that invite screen. So that's the setup is the similar way. You see, we are taking the custom and animated, which is by default is false. Then we are passing that app screen, and that also the motion app screen header we are giving, which we declared earlier in the top level. And then we are passing all other variables. And don't be worried about that, because I'm going through a little bit faster to finish it earlier. But if you want to get more explanation about how these things actually work, let me know in the comments below. I'm gonna make a particular video for each and every segment. So we have that invite screen section, we have the stock screen, we have that invest screen. Now we need to pass that screen to work. So as you see, we are having in the frame view. Now inside that frame view, we can pass that, and also we need to pass that feature, which we're gonna export it in the bottom. Oops, okay, let me just get that. So that value, it's gonna be value over here, where we are passing that icon, we are passing that screen, which will be the invite screen we are passing, and we are passing the other properties, the stock screen. Okay, stocks screen, which it will be stocks screen. Okay, let me just, okay, it will be that name, stock screen. And for we are passing that also the device screen, not the device, I think the invest screen. So now in the frame view, we need to we need to pass every other things with that. So as we define in the feature, so now we can get that value within the feature. So it's in the tab list, we're gonna predefine all the variable which we're gonna import and use that. So now what we're gonna do, we're gonna go through that features. As you see, we got it from the frame view, and we're gonna map through it, and on that mapping we're gonna take that as a feature, and also we're gonna take another parameter, is that feature index. And what we're gonna return, oops, it's gonna be outside of that parameter. Now we are going to return a div over here. Now inside that div, for that div, I'm gonna go and give some class name, which going through that, the key it will be the feature name, and the class name it will be relative rounded to Excel. We are going to now going to create this portion. So you may not see anything right now yet, because we need to modify it a bit. Now after passing that, inside that div, what we're gonna do, we're gonna pass that if the feature index is equal to that selected index, only then we're gonna return something. So if that index is on that, so we're gonna return that another div, which will be that motion.div, and it will be a self-closing div. And inside that div, what we're gonna do, we're gonna pass a parameter within that layout ID, which will be that active background, and the class name it will be absolute inset 0 bg gray of 800. The initial it will be the border radius of 600. That's the radius we are creating. So now after passing that value, what I'm gonna do, as you see, after finishing that particular div, I believe this one, so the feature index, so that's the div, and after this div I'm gonna pass another div, and where we're gonna get that feature dot icon, which the icon we have, and now give a class name for that, and that class name it will be height it will be 8, and also the width it will be 8. Okay, and also for that div, particular div, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go and grab some class name. It will be relative, and z will be 10, padding it will be 8. So now as you see, we are getting that icon. As you see, if it's active, that similar things pattern is coming. So now after that feature dot icon, we will take one h3 tab, And in h3, what we're gonna do, we're gonna get that feature.name, and that name, it will be inside that tab. So after passing that parameter, we will be able to see our particular, as you see, that tab is available. Now what I really need to do it in the top level, I think everything is working fine, or we are missing some of the class name somewhere. Okay. And after that parameter, we're gonna also pass that description tag. And the things is not looking the way it's supposed to be, because I believe we are not giving anything inside that tab list. So what we need to do, we also need to predefine some class name for it. So let's give a class name. It will be relative, and also we're gonna make it z indexed of 10, and then we're gonna make it the order last, and also the call span, it will be 6. It will not be the end, it will be the span. Call span, it will be 6, and now space in y, it will be also, let's pass it as 6. Let's see how it looks. So after passing that parameter, as you see, now this thing's actually looking better. As you see, once we click, it's particularly selecting the one it's supposed to be. So now this things looks better, as pretty much similar on that, but of course we need to modify a bit with that, so the color combination and others will follow through. So now, as we are having that, so after finishing that tab list, we need to define the other things. So now what we're gonna do, actually, we're gonna take another class name, and inside that class name, I'm gonna make it as, just give them class name, it will be that also relative, and the call span of 6. And now in here, we're gonna pass a div, and inside that div, we're gonna create a circle background. So let's create that circle. It will be background .jsx. Now inside that circle background, we will create one animation effect. As you see, we're gonna create that effect, which is rounding through all over, and that it will be also the simple as SVG. So we will import that use ID. So let's import use ID from React, and after that, in the circle background, we will take some of the parameter and also the props in between. So that parameter, it will take by default is that width will be 558 and height will be 558. So now we're gonna pass that ID, and that ID we're gonna take it from that React use ID, and then we're gonna pass it a simple SVG, which gonna give us that rounding variation. So we're gonna pass that simple SVG. So as you see, that's gonna return us through that parameter to create that circular things. So first of all, inside that div, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna just import that circle background, and once we just save, I believe we're gonna see something. As you see, we can see that circle background, but it's not coming the way it's supposed to be. So what it will be, I'm gonna define the color, and that color, just put that 256 and 3 EB. Okay, it just got out of it, so let's cut it, and okay, that's the color we're gonna give. As you see, now it looks better, and also we're gonna give an animation on that, and that class name, we're gonna pass that animation with that, and that animation, it will be animate spin slower, so it will spin a slower bit. So now, as you see, it started spinning, and that animation is spin slower. As you may know beforehand, we already defined over here animate spin slower, and also we are giving the keyframes for it. So that's the things we are importing there. So now what I will make that in the top level of that div, I'm gonna also pass some of the class name, which gonna be an absolute left half, top and half, so it will be in the middle of that. in that particular div. So now after that we need to, like after finishing that, we need to import that font frame. Remember, we used the font frame beforehand. So inside that, now if we save, we will be able to see the font frame. So as you see, that's the font frame we are taking. So now for that font frame, we need to combine through a particular width and height, otherwise it will just capture all the attention. So we are going to give a class name, which is will be jet-index10 mx auto white full, and the max width it will be 366 pixel. So as you see, that's the one as the similar of it. So we are going near. Now inside the font frame, we're gonna pass that as a tab.panels. So it will be separate panels will be there, and that panels we're gonna use it as a fragment. So it will be as it will be I think the fragment from the React. Yeah, so it will be the fragment. Did you import it beforehand? Yeah, that's the fragment. So it will be in capital letter, that's why I'm missing it. So that fragment it will be here. And now what we need to do, we will pass that animate presence to create that beautiful animation. So inside that animate presence, we're gonna pass the two things, which will be the initial, it will be false, and also the custom is forwards, and the change out, remember we defined it earlier on the top. So now inside it, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna again map through that feature and features.map, because now we need to capture the other part, and again it will be taking us that feature, and also we're gonna give that one as that feature index. Now what I'm gonna return from this parameter is that we're gonna make that like if the selected index is equal to the feature index. If these both index are matching together, then we're gonna return something, and if it's not match, then it will be just null. So if it's match, it's gonna render through something, and if it's not match, it will render nothing. Okay, I think I may have some mistake. Let me find out. Okay, okay, we're gonna toggle through again. So that's the features.map. We're mapping through that, and we're getting that feature and also the feature index. And then after that we are okay. Actually we don't need to return something, because we're gonna find that selected index is equal to like selected index is equal to that feature index. If it's matching that, only then we're gonna return something, right? So if it's match, then we're gonna return something, and if it's not match, we're gonna keep it as null. So that's the parameter we're gonna pass. Now how we gonna combine? Actually I think I am missing one parameter here. Okay, let's go through again. So the feature.map, we are mapping through that. We're gonna take that as a feature and feature index. Okay, so that's the two parameter we are passing. Now after passing the two parameter, we are getting that selected index is equal to that feature index. If that two things is match, then we are returning a parameter, and if it's a not match, then we are passing that null value. So now what we need to do, we need to pass something, and if it's match, we will pass that tab.panel. So that's the parameter we're gonna pass, and that panel it will also capture on some way that we're gonna keep that panel as. So it will be the key, it will be the feature.name and plus that change count, whatever it will be, and then also the class name, it will be the column is stud1, row is stud1, just a similar bunch of class name. And now inside that panel we're gonna pass that it will be that feature.screen. So now we are passing the actual thing, and by default it will be animated. So animated, it will be working on that, and the custom parameter we're gonna pass that is forwards, and also we're gonna pass that a change count, so that it can toggle through in between both parameter and can show us actual thing what is rendering. So now as you see, that is rendering pretty much fine. okay, so one portion is there which is the stocks, that's giving us the issue. So let's see from where we are getting that problem. So we believe let's next view, and now I think that we can find in the feature. So inside that feature we are having that the problem is coming from that stock screen. So now what I am gonna do, actually maybe we missed up something on that. So let me find it. I think it's just missing the width. So in the I think okay, let's see the other, we're giving width. Yeah, it's just missing that width. So just pass the class name, it will be width, it will be full. So after passing that, I believe now, as you see, that looks fine. So now you see that toggling is a very simplistic way, and if we just coming with that smaller screen, as you see, that things is gone. So to combine with that, what you need to do, we need to create another screen which will be inside the desktop screen. We're gonna create another screen which will be that for the mobile screen, because all the parameter is here. So I'm gonna create it in this similar page without going anywhere. So now after passing that desktop view, what I'm gonna do, because we are exporting it by default, I'm gonna also export another function. So it will be export cons, and now we're gonna pass that as a let's just put that mobile view. And now in that mobile view, I'm gonna take a simple parameter, and then we're gonna, so that's the portion we're gonna create that mobile view. Now inside that mobile view, we're gonna also pass that through this proportion, which you're gonna take that in active index, and that set active index we're gonna create it as an use stack hook, because as you see, we need to combine it like that so we can toggle through for that actual devices. So these are the things we're gonna implement, and to initially do it, we will define on that. And now what I'm gonna do also, for that feature mobile, I'm gonna set an observer, because whenever that things is changed, it's gonna set with that. So let's put that use effect hook, and now inside that use effect, I'm gonna pass through that observer. So oops, it will be let's observer, and it will be new window and dot intersection observer we're gonna pass, and then we're gonna pass that variable, which it will be entries, and inside that entries, we're gonna give that parameter on that. So for that parameter, what we're gonna pass, actually we're gonna pass that value. So it's gonna toggle through that let entry of entries, and if it's entry is it intersecting, it gonna put that as a set active index, then it gonna also put that as a target. And that after that, also after that variation, we're gonna also pass another one which will combine through that root parameter, and that parameter it gonna make that with that slider container ref dot current, which gonna keep that in that parameter. And also we're gonna pass that threshold, and that threshold it will be 0.6. So now we have the two value, and also we're gonna pass another value to see that, to combine that with that slide. So it will be the let slide of slide refs dot current. So we are getting that current ref, then whenever we are toggling through, it's gonna give us that other one. And now we need to return the value, and that value it will be, let's just return, and that return we are gonna to return a function over here, and that function gonna combine if there is the slide is available, and then only the observer dot observe, like if the slide is available, only then it gonna observe the slide. So now our observer is ready, good to go. No, actually, sorry, I just copy on that because I was looking on it. It will not be in the return portion. So what the return portion it will be, because it's already observing the current slide. So once in the return, what I'm gonna make it that observer dot disconnect. Once the observe is done, it gonna disconnect. Okay, and now in that parameter of in that parameter of that UG_hook, I'm gonna put that with a slider container ref and also the slide refs. So these two parameter we're gonna pass, and now we need to return from that actual mobile view section. So what we are going to return, we're gonna return a, let's just return a div. Oops, it will be a div, and inside the div I'm gonna take another div. First of all, let's give some class name. The height, it will be auto, and on the second parameter I'm gonna put that reference as the slide container reference, and I'm gonna give that class name, which gonna give us that scroll smooth and other parameter. And now inside that div I need to pass that features, right? Because we're gonna everything we're gonna catch from that feature. And remember the previous what we did, it will be the feature, and then we're gonna take that feature index parameter. So that's the similar parameters we are going to take, but in a different source of things. Oops, we need to return the value. So now we are going to return a div again. Oops, it will be div. So now inside that div we need to give that key for that, and that will be the feature index, the key, and the ref, which will be the ref we are giving that from the slide ref.current. That's the reference we are giving, and then giving some class names. So now inside that div we need to pass the other things. So what I'm gonna do, first I'm gonna create another div. Now inside that div let's combine through another div, because we need to pass that circle background. Remember, we have that circle background, the same the similar pattern what we have been done before. We're gonna pass that for the circle background, and still I believe it will come or not, maybe. So let's just refresh. We can see the circle. No, we still cannot see the circle. Okay, we are having already an error. Okay, well, it's just finishing the error. We need to finish the other part. So what I'm gonna do, in the top layer of that div, I'm gonna put some class name. We are making it the relative, and transform the overflow is giving the hidden, and I want to make it inside like the center. So that's the parameter I'm passing. And also we need to make that as a spin slower. And we are not seeing anything because we need to connect that as over here for that mobile view. We didn't connect it, that's why it's not we cannot see it here. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take a div. Now inside that div I'm gonna make that as a mobile view, and that mobile view I'm gonna give a class name, and it will be the margin top will be 16, and then oops, it will be 16, and in MB devices it will be hidden. So now we will be able to see the circle image at the very first, then the other things will appear. So this, the circle image is supposed to be like that, but it's not. It just got stuck somewhere, because the height, it will be that should get the height. So just let's see what we are missing. Okay, so while it's combining, what we need to do, actually I'm gonna take the other parameter. I'm gonna use that font frame to just combine through all the parameter, and inside that font frame I'm gonna just get that, oops, it will be a feature dot icon. We will pass first, not the icon, it will be screen, feature.screen we are passing. And for that font frame we need to, as you see, the font frame is available, so we need to combine that font frame in a very similar pattern. So let's just give some class name to it, giving a relative, and max width and height. As you see, now we can actually look forward to see that background. So now after the font frame we need that contain. So to getting that content, we will pass a div, and inside the div we will pass that feature.icon, which the icon we have, and that icon will also combine with some class name, which will be height, it will be 8, and width, it will be the weight, it will be also 8, so that we can see the icon. Okay, as you see, this is the icon. Now as we are having the icon, and in the top layer I'm gonna also go and grab some class name for it. Okay, so now after that icon, we're gonna pass the two other variable which we have that for. One is for that h3 tag, which is the feature name, and another is for that feature description. So that's the two things we need to pass. So let's head back the other one. It will be like that similarly, and that color combining pattern is not showing because we didn't fix that portion where we need to declare a color parameter on that in the Tailwind CSS, which will be like we need to combine through that colors. Like you can use in that factor, or if you want to see the color I used the similar color pattern, then inside the parameter I'm gonna pass that the parameter as colors, and then what I'm gonna return everything inside an object, and then object I'm gonna put that as a gray, and the colors it will be I'm gonna give us that neutral color. So now as you see, the color is changed, is getting that gray on that as a neutral color. So that's the like the difference from that to here. Okay, so now we have that all the things. Now we need to create that another portion which will give us that tree button. And what I'm gonna do after finishing that div, overall div, I'm gonna pass through it, and then I'm gonna give another div, and inside that div I'm gonna make it that feature.map again. And then what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna just pass an empty string, and then I'm gonna give that a feature index. Okay, it's not giving feature index. And then what I need to return, I'm gonna return that. Okay, feature, that's the feature we are passing. So it's not working in a way it's supposed to see. Okay, we cannot see that feature. Okay, it's the features, not the feature, and that's why it's not working. So it will be the features.map. Okay, so now we need to create that button things. So let's just pass that button, and inside the button I'm gonna pass one span tag to just showcase the button. And also what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna give some class name in the top layer, which will be the flex, and justify center the gap, it will be 3. So now still we can see that button, and to make that button available, what in that button we need to pass some variables. The type it will be button, and also we're gonna pass that the key parameter and others. So the key it will be that feature index, and the class name we are passing the class name. When the active it will be the basic gray, and if it's not active it will be the background of that 500. As you see, once we click, that image is changing and is another image is lining up. So now that portion is looks sick. So if you just go and expand it, as you see, that is working for every single pattern of that parameter. So now with that we are finishing that feature. So if we go back to in the pages, let me close the others. And now what we need to do, we need to create another section which will be our account section. So we will create it now. Let's create a component called account. So it will be account, and also we need to import that account after that feature. So it will be account, and let's save it. Now we'll be able to see the account somewhere here. So this is the account. So now inside that account component, what we gonna do, we're gonna take it as a parameter of the section. And now inside the section we're gonna pass that container. Remember, we create that container beforehand, and also we need to import that container. Now for that section, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go and grab those ID and other things for that. So this is the account section. And by the way, once we're gonna create that feature actually where we can having that that scroll effect on that. So to create that one, let's go back to our header. So in the header we're gonna particularly create that. So okay, where is my VS Code? We're gonna get that to header. So now inside that header, first of all we need to actually define those portion. So what I'm gonna do inside the header, I'm gonna take a variable name const, and then it will be is scrolled, and then we're gonna make that as set scrolled, and by default it will be use state, and we're gonna make it as false. So now we're gonna make that const handle scroll, and that handle scroll will be a function, and that function will be responsible to give us that scroll functionality. So make that const scroll y, which will be the y parameter. So we're gonna take it from that window.scroll y, and what we're gonna make that set scroll y, set is scroll y, or actually we're gonna make that set is scrolled, which will be the scroll y is bigger than 50 pixel. So if window scroll is bigger than 50 pixel, it will be giving us that handle scroll functionality, and we're gonna wrap it with that use effect hook. And then what we're gonna find that if that like that a type of, and the type of is that window is equal to undefined. Oops, we need to pass that undefined. Then we're gonna pass that parameter to work on. What we're gonna do, we're gonna make that window dot add event listener, and we're gonna pass that event listener as a scroll, and inside that we're gonna pass that handle scroll parameter, and then also we're gonna return something which we're gonna return inside a function, and that function will be responsible to that window dot remove event listener. And after that parameter, like when we again roll back to that small bigger than 50 pixel, we're gonna also remove that parameter, which will be that handle scroll parameter, and then also we're gonna make that as empty screen. So now we can access that scroll proportion. So inside the header we're gonna give some class name to it. So let's give a class name, and then we're gonna pass that class name inside that backtick. So the width, it will be a full, and it will be the sticky. Z index, it will be a 50, so you can see it, and the top it will be a 0, and the background, it will be background white. So now whenever that things, like whenever that is scroll is available, and we're gonna give a class name, it will be a shadow. We're gonna pass the shadow as Excel, and also the shadow, it will be it will be blue 100. So that's the parameter of that. So now if we go over here, as you see, once we are below 50 pixel, we are getting that scroll effect. So now this is our account section. Let's head back to the accounts. So header parameter is done, and in the accounts we're gonna create that other things inside the container. And also there is one thing, if you click on the feature, as you see, it's actually toggling, it's working. It's just because we are passing that section ID, so it's gonna get to that ID and fetching you to that particular section. So now in the accounts, what we're gonna do, we're gonna pass one div, and inside that div we're gonna pass the title. Remember, we create the title beforehand, and in the title we're gonna make the text as a 2XL, and also we're gonna pass that p tag, which will contain the other text, and don't forget to import the title from the title. So now after passing those things, now you see that's the title is available and is the similar of it, but we need to define some class name to make it looks better. So now what I'm gonna do in that particular div, I'm gonna give some class name which will be max width of 2XL, and mx it will be auto, and SM, it will be the text, it will be to be in the center. So now, okay, yeah, now it's giving that perfect look. So first of all, after finishing, after that div, we're gonna pass an unordered list item, and that list item also I'm gonna pass through some of the variable to create the compatible ideas. We're gonna give that role and also give the class name. Now there is one more things we need to do. As you see, those particular things is coming from that static data. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go through with that index.jsx, and now here I'm gonna pass that account data, and that data will contains all other things. As you see, the icons, we need to import that icon from that stroke icons, that stroke logs we use already beforehand. So that's I'm gonna import from there, and then I'm gonna just define it here. So now we can access that info because we are exporting that account data. So now we can use that data to create the functionality over here. So now what I'm gonna do inside that UL, that unordered list, I'm gonna take that one, that accounts data dot map. Now after that map, I'm gonna take all the parameter as item. Then after taking that, I'm gonna return that. I'm gonna return like one list one, and that list I'm gonna give that key name and also the class name for it. And inside that list name, actually first of all I want to pass that item.icon, and that icon it gonna be, let's give a class name, and the similar way height it will be 8 and width it will be 8. So that's the icon we are passing. So I believe we can see the icon as you see, and that's function that the hover effect is getting from that class name, and also the grid effect, that one is coming from that unordered list. So now in a similar way I'm gonna get through that other proportion which wanna be h1 and h3 and the p tag, and giving us that other formalities. So this is the account section, and if you just roll back through a smaller screen, that's working pretty much fine. So now our account section is particularly done. So it's the time to create that review portion. So let's create that. So it will be review.jsx rafce. So now inside that pages, after the account, we will pass that review, and we'll be able to see the review somewhere. That's the review. So we'll create that one now. So to go with that review, what we are going to do, we first of all we need to keep that review inside the section. So let's remove that div. It will be section, and inside the section we are also going to go with that similar parameters. We need to pass the ID and other parameters, which the review title and all other things. And now also we are going to pass that as container, and don't forget to import that container from the container. And inside that container with a similar pattern, we're gonna pass the title, and also we're gonna pass the text, the other text. So now you will be able to see, okay, we need to import the title, otherwise you're gonna get the error. So while those things is done, you can see our review portion is started to pops up. And to create that review, that grid pattern which we are having over here, okay, we messed up one thing, which will be the for tips for today. We need to create that one also, which will be the call to action. Actually we will create it after the review portion. And to create the review, what I'm gonna do, we need to create actually that review grid. So let's take another file name, which will be review okay, review grid.jsx. Inside that review grid, we are going to create that functionality. So it will be review grids. Now what we're gonna create inside that review grid, that's the review grid. Don't worry about it, we're gonna create it later on. And inside that review grid, let's head back to review grid first. Now here we are going to create so many different things. First of all, we need to pass that review data, which we're gonna also keep that in our index.jsx file. We're gonna pop it up here. So now this data you can modify as the way you want. So that review data will contain one title, that body, and then author name and the rating. So this the things is passing through that review data. So you can feel free to put anything you want to pass as review data. It depends on you. So I will just pass that one. So inside that review grid, what I'm gonna do, first of all, I'm gonna just get through all of the things I need to import. I will make it as use client because I will use the effect and use Momo, then also other things. Now before that going through, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna declare some of the parameter, which will be the const star, it will be rating, and that rating particularly we're gonna pass that rating on that as the parameter. And I think I made some mistake. Yeah, it will be up from here. Now inside that rating, I'm gonna return a div, and inside that div, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna map through like the, I'm gonna take an array of 5, which gonna give us the rating. It will not be in that because we need to keep that inside a div, otherwise it will not work. It will be inside a div. Okay, so now it will be the array of 5. The keys, we're gonna give a key of index, then we're gonna passing through the icon, the star icon, and if the rating, like, it will go through the value. If you have the 5 star, it will, all this star, it will be filled of 500. If it's that index is like 2 star, it will give the 2 star rating and others. And then after this portion, we need to create another portion, which one it will be for that review button. Like, it gonna give us that review functionality. As you see, we are passing that review, the title, body, author, and that review we're gonna get that as a props from that review. And we are giving also an animation delay using the use Momo, and we are returning that possible animation delays with that, which gonna be responsible to create that animation delay particularly. Then we are passing a figure. Inside that figure, we are giving inside the block tick, as you see, we are giving that star rating. Okay, that is star rating, I believe star rating it will be, so it's coming just that as start rating. So that's the star rating we're gonna pass. And just toggle through this thing simultaneously, because then you're gonna make it a sense with that. And also then we're gonna split the array, because we're gonna split array according to the number, and then we're gonna push through it. And also the another last things we may require, which gonna be of our that review column, which we're gonna take the class name, the reviews, and the review class name, which gonna be at the beginning it will be an empty, and the ms per pixel it will be 0. So we are getting that column reference and others, giving us the duration. And then inside that use effect, we are putting that resize observer, which gonna observe, like once you see, once the observe is finished, it gonna fading away, and once it's popping up inside the observer is like fade in, it's just popping in. So that's the functionality we are keeping here. And then we are returning that observer, we are making it disconnect. And now we are passing that review. As with that, from that reviews, we need to import that reviews actually. That's the, okay, that's the reviews we are passing over here. I think it's in the top we imported. Yeah, that's the reviews we are imported already. So it should take that parameter. Okay, now after that, what we need to do in the review grid, what I will do, I'm gonna pass that parameter, which gonna be as the container ref and other parameter, and then we're gonna finish that up. So now how we gonna pull the things, as we are passing in that parameter, so we need to return everything inside the div. So now first of all, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna pull that div and I'm gonna wrap it through the reference we have. So we're gonna give a wrap of that container reference, and also giving that some of the class name with that. And don't freak out if you just type with that whatever I am passing, it will work just fine. and I'm getting a little bit quicker because what I want, if you're not understanding any single pattern on it, just let me know in the comments below. Then I'm gonna create a small video in a particular component, a particular subject, so that you can understand it in a better way. If I put this up in one single video, it's gonna be very long. So now what I need to popping up here, I'm gonna pop that if is in view. So now whenever it's in view, I want to return something, and first of all I'm going to return an empty string, and inside that empty string I'm going to pass that review column. And the first column, because there will be a 3 column in the review, as you may know, 1 2, so that 1 2 and 3 column, so that's 3 column we're going to pass. And for the first column, what I'm going to do, I'm going to pass that review column. As you see, I'm gonna passing that column 0 to column 2 and making it a flex, and then I'm giving the first column and also passing that review class name from that review index, and with that CLSX I'm putting that class name with that actual length. And after having that, as you see, we can see the first column already working in a way. Okay, so now we are passing that first column, and also in that similar pattern, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna popping that other 2 column. So we're gonna have that 3 column is working just fine, but we are having a problem. The issue is happening with that star rating, and to make these things right, remember we are passing, that's the review rate inside that review column. So let's find the column. We are passing that star. I think we need to go in the top where we pass that star. So we're gonna give a class name, we're gonna just make it as flex, and everything gonna be sorted out. So if you have the 2 review, you're gonna have the 2 star in actual color, and otherwise it will just show that no color. So in that way, that looks pretty normal and it's working just fine. So now after passing that parameter, our review section is working just fine. Again, I'm telling you, feel free to go each and everything very slowly. All the things, it will be available in the repository. You can go through the code, you can type yourself, or you can just review the code and you will understand how this things is working. So after review pattern, we need to create another portion which will be the call to action. Remember, there is another portion is there. So inside that over here, we're gonna make that call to action.jsx, and let's make that rafce. And what I'm gonna do after that account, I'm gonna pass that call to action, and you will be able to see that portion somewhere. Okay, that's the call to action is available. Now what it will be available inside that call to action, so let's go over here. I'm gonna make it as a section. Actually it's not required to create the section over here, because it gonna be normal, it will not really recognize, or we can just keep it a section. And also we're gonna give an ID and also some other parameter. And ID, it will just simple ID parameter, we're gonna keep it. And also we are giving that padding y-axis and the background to create that beautiful looking background over here. And now inside the section, I'm gonna take a div, and inside the div I'm gonna make that circle background to popping up. And that circle background will just containing with that color, which will be the color background of color white, and it will be animate spin slower. As you see, that is working pretty good. And now I want to make it in the like inside the middle. To make it inside the middle, I'm gonna make it as an absolute div. By the way, I'm keeping it as relative, so I'm gonna make it absolute on that. And the left, it will be 28 just from the left, and from the top it will be 1/2, and minus translates, we're gonna make it in y, so it will be 1/2, and also sm, the left, it will be 1/2, so it will be in the middle. And whenever it will be hitting in the sm, it will be minus translate x, it will be 1/2, so it gonna popping up inside the middle in that way. Okay, as you see, that's inside the middle. So now we need to pull up the content on it. So first of all, we're gonna get that container, and don't forget to import it from the container. Inside that container, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna just popping up one div and other text. Remember, we already did it in several times. And don't forget to import the title from title. So we are passing that text and we are passing that text to combine these two. So now, as you can see, okay, just hit the refresh, because some chunk portion or whatever it is just happening for that cache data. So now, as you see, every single portion is done, and if you click in the account, it's gonna heading back to our account section. If you click in the feature, it's taking us to the features and all the home. So all the way it's working just fine. And also if you just click in the logo, it's taking us to that main menu, and you can toggle through and everything is changing perfectly. So now this video this kind of website really can give you an understanding about the design pattern and how the pattern is work, and you can really have a very good career if you can make this kind of website in your just showcase in your portfolio. So pretty much that's all. Now what we need to do, we need to make this on live, because we created that website. Now we want to make it on live, and to do that, first of all, we need to initialize the git over here. Let's see. Now I'm gonna make it is git init to initialize the git inside of it, and then I'm gonna make it git add to add everything over here. Okay, let me see if we have that git ignore. Okay, it's there. And now I'm gonna make it git commit, which will be my first commit, that initial commit. Now you need to have a git account to just publish it, because we're gonna deploy it inside the Vercel. Go to your git repository, and inside that repository you need to declare a new repository, like you need to create another one. I'm gonna make it that investor YT, and I'm gonna keep it as public. Let's create that repository, and after creating, we need to connect that repository to our particular repository over here. So let's make that git remote, and then also we need to push that whatever we have, git push u origin master. If you are using the main, you can just push through the main. It depends on the branch you are using. So if we just hit back to reload, you're gonna see everything is popping up here. Now I'm gonna head back to the Vercel to deploy it in the Vercel. Now this is my Vercel dashboard. If you are not having a Vercel account, just open the account. It's very easy. If you have that GitHub account, you just link with that. So now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna initialize a project, which will be the new project, and that's the repository we're gonna implement, which will be the investor YT, and then I'm gonna deploy. So now whenever you're gonna Vercel something in the Next.js application in the Vercel, it's gonna prefetch every single dependencies from the beginning, and then it gonna create that production build to deploy it in the web. As you see, it's compiling everything, and also is every compile is successful. If you are getting any error over here, you need to go back to the code. Like if you feel the error, then in the particular code you need to fix it here, then you need to push that again in your GitHub. Then particularly it gonna just fetch from that, directly fetch from that GitHub. You don't need to worry about any other things. So now as you see, it's already deployed. Let's go to the dashboard, and now we are going to get an address with is that investoryt.vercel.app. So now in that address, our application is in live. So if you are with me till now, you're gonna have it inside your portfolio, that fully responsive and customized website for you, and it can showcase so many things. If you can just modify it in a bit, just make some structural change or some way in other pattern, change the color pattern, it gonna work. And all the details, all the parameter, it will be in the description below, so you're gonna get it from the scratch. I hope it can really create a value in your portfolio to find a better job, or if you are just learning newly in Next.js or React, also you can give a credit for you. So I hope you can finish that video, and we'll see you in the next video.